Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you guys my weekly reading wrap up for October 19th to the 25th, I believe. And also I am doing a giveaway because I recently reached 500 subscribers on this channel. I am so excited. It is kind of surreal to me that 500 people actually like my content here on YouTube, but I'm just so excited about reaching that milestone. So definitely stay tuned till the end and I will go into all the giveaway rules as well as the prize and all of that. But first, let's wrap up some books. So first I want to discuss two novellas that I read this week. The first one is The Decadent Gift by Lauren Blakely, and this one definitely doesn't have anything to do with Halloween, but I read it because Audible Escape is unfortunately going away, and so I'm trying to listen to as many audiobooks off of that before the service goes away. So this is book 3 in a standalone smutty romance novella series. So this series centers around this group of friends, and each novella centers on a particular couple within that friend group, and each novella kind of centers on a specific kink. This one specifically is about role-playing. This was just a really fun time. I did end up giving it 3 stars. I was gonna give it 4 stars, but then towards the end there were some chapters that had to do with a different couple than the main couple. I mean, it was cute, I guess, but it just didn't really have anything to do with the main story, so I didn't care all that much. Then the other novella that I read was Mating the Huntress by Talia Hibbert. This is Talia Hibbert's first paranormal romance, and it was so good. So like I said, this is another novella, and this is book 1 in what's going to be a paranormal romance series, and I cannot wait for more books to come out because I really enjoy this. I gave it 4 stars. So we are following Chastity. She is a part of this huge werewolf hunting family. It's mainly the women in the family that hunt werewolves, not the men for some reason. And then we have Luke, who is a werewolf, and it is a romance between the two of them. And this was really fun because it definitely has an enemies to lovers vibe. I mean, she's a werewolf hunter, he's a werewolf, you know, things don't start off well for the two of them. The very first scene that they are alone together, she straight up tries to murder him. So yeah, it was fun, it was entertaining, highly recommend. This also takes place during Halloween, so this is literally the perfect novella to read for this time of year. Next up, I want to discuss My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I am so obsessed with this cover. It is the perfect 80s VHS tape aesthetic, and I'm just so here for it. But earlier this year I read the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which is his most recent release. I think this was the book that he wrote before that one. So as you can tell, this takes place in the 80s. This is about Abby and Gretchen, and one night their friend group is out skinny dipping at the local lake, but they lose track of Gretchen, and when they eventually find her, she looks awful. She looks like she has been through something very traumatic, and she starts acting very weird, and just very horrific things start happening after this night, and we quickly realize that she has been possessed by a demon. So yes, this is definitely a horror novel through and through, but Grady Hendrix also throws in his own unique writing style and just his own unique vibes into his stories. I don't really know how else to explain that. And while of course this book is centered on the possession and eventual exorcism of Gretchen, it morphs into this somewhat beautiful story about Abby and Gretchen's friendship, because we get to see the very beginning of their friendship, I think when they were about like 10 or 11 years old, and then the very end of this book is chronicling their friendship through the end of their lives. So while it's a horror story, it's also a beautiful story about friendship. So if those things appeal to you, I think that you will really enjoy this. I ended up giving this 4 stars instead of 5 just because I did feel like the beginning was a bit slow, but once things picked up, they really picked up. So I definitely recommend this. Perfect for this time of year. So next up, I want to talk about my 3 5-star reads of the week. The first one is Burn for Me by Ilona Andrews. This is book 1 in the Hidden Legacy series. And for those of you guys that don't know, Ilona Andrews is a husband and wife author duo, which I think is so cool, especially in the urban fantasy / paranormal romance genre. You don't see that normally, you know? But this is a really interesting world. It definitely has a post-apocalyptic feel to it because throughout this book that kind of mentioned that there was a really big war before this book started, and I'm assuming as the books go along we'll learn more and more about that war, but it definitely has that kind of vibe to it. This takes place in Houston, Texas, and in this world in the mid to late 1800s there was this Osiris serum that was developed, and when injected into people it made them have magical abilities. And so through the years since then, because now it is present day, different magical abilities have developed, and there are different houses or families that have different abilities, and they essentially control the cities and have a lot of control in the government and things like that. And so we have our main character Nevada. Her ability is that she can tell truths from lies, which I think is an awesome ability, but she is a private investigator, and she gets roped into this plot. There is this man, Adam Pierce, who is a very powerful mage, and he's from a very powerful family. I think his magic has to do with fire, and he's doing some not so great things in Houston. And so another powerful family hires Nevada to try to bring this guy Adam in, and then our other major character is Rogan, who is another very powerful mage from a different family, and he ends up getting roped into this as well. So Nevada and Rogan kind of have to work together to bring Adam in to make sure that Houston isn't destroyed, basically. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I didn't expect a ton out of this book. I think it's mainly because of the cheesy cover. I mean, it just looks like a cheesy urban fantasy romance cover, but this is quality urban fantasy slash paranormal with just a dash of romance thrown in. There's not a ton of romance going on between Nevada and Rogan in this first book. I think the second book in this series centers around them as well. So I'm assuming we'll get more of their romance in that second book, but this first book was really centered on developing the world and the major plot of Adam Pierce and trying to take him down, and it was so good. I couldn't give this less than 5 stars. I think that this is an amazing series and book to start with if you're someone like me who is just getting into adult paranormal romance. Next up, we have The Ruby Circle by Richelle Mead. This is the 6th and final book in the Bloodline series, and I gave this 5 stars, just like I did with Silver Shadows, which was the 5th book in the series. I loved the way that everything wrapped up. I will say I wasn't the biggest fan of how Adrian's magic use was resolved at the very end of this book. So just to quickly explain, Adrian has spirit magic, and spirit can make the user go insane over time if they use too much, essentially. And so throughout the book, Adrian struggles with that the whole time, and even in the Vampire Academy series he was struggling with that as well. But the way that Richelle Mead decided to solve that problem was something that Adrian had tried earlier on in the Bloodline series, and it didn't work that time, so why would it work this time? Like, I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of that, but I still think it was a fantastic way to end the series. Also, I am so excited because in the author's note, Richelle Mead mentioned that she is definitely planning on revisiting this world and these characters, and I really hope that she does end up writing another series because I just love these books so much. They are like candy to me. I could just read one after another and be perfectly content. And the last book that I read this week was Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. For those of you guys that don't know, this is essentially a satire on the Harry Potter series. We have our main character, Simon Snow. He is the chosen one, but he is like the worst chosen one ever because he just can't seem to figure out how to use his magic. And he goes to this school called the Watford School of Magics, and his roommate is Baz, who is a vampire, and they have like the best enemies to lovers romance in this book. I was like screaming in my head while reading this book. It was just so well done. I loved the world that Rainbow Rowell created. Yes, she pulls some elements from stories like Harry Potter, but it is a very original world. I loved the kind of twist and the quirkiness that she put to this magical universe. I thought the characters were fantastic. I loved the story. I really enjoyed the mystery as well because it was just really fun while reading this, kind of trying to figure out what was going on for myself, and I was coming up with my own theories. Unfortunately, my theories didn't end end up being correct, but it was still fun nonetheless. I cannot recommend this enough, but I feel like everybody else has read this except me, because this came out back in 2015. I've definitely slept on this book, and it is a series. Wayward Son, the second book, I think came out last year, and then the third book is coming out in July of 2021, which of course is really exciting. So I am definitely looking forward to reading the other books in the series as soon as possible. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for the wrap up. So now for the 500 subscribers giveaway. So I have some rules listed here on my phone, but of course definitely check the description down below. I'll have all of the rules laid out as clearly as possible. Also, a lot of these rules are pretty straightforward for a giveaway. I don't think I'm doing anything that's wildly different. But the first rule is that it is open to US only, just because international shipping is way too expensive for me at the moment. I am not a rich person, so unfortunately I cannot afford that. Second rule, you must be a subscriber, of course, and please don't subscribe just to unsubscribe. That's really not nice, and I have a way of finding that out, so I could disqualify you from future giveaways if you do that. Then of course, like this video, and the main thing that I want you to do for this giveaway is to leave a comment below telling me about your favorite book that you've read so far in 2020. You know, just give me a couple bullet points about why you love that book so much. The giveaway is going to last until Sunday, November 1st at 11:59 p.m. So essentially I'm going to randomly pick one winner, and I will message said winner. You will have 24 hours to respond to my message, and if you don't, I will go ahead and pick another winner. Then one last rule I have is you must be 18 years or older or have parental permission to enter this giveaway. So I have this stack of books right here, which are books that I am planning to either sell or give away at some point. So essentially whoever wins this giveaway will win 2 books in this stack. So if you are the winner, you will be able to choose any 2 books in this stack. It doesn't matter to me which ones they are. So let's quickly go through what's in this stack. So first I have 2 historical romances that I really enjoyed this year. The first one is Romancing the Duke by Tessa Dare. Now this one does have a weird kind of misprint going on because the font of the title is black and it should be gold, but it is a perfectly intact copy. I loved this romance. It's essentially a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's amazing. Then we have The Virgin and the Rogue by Sophie Jordan. This is a love potion historical romance. Really fun, really entertaining. I love both of these so much, so if you decide to go with one or both of these, you definitely can't go wrong. Next we have The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman. This is the first edition UK paperback. It has the hot pink sprayed edges, and this is the perfect book to read around this time of year. This is book 1 in a YA duology that essentially has vibes of both Riverdale and Stranger Things. I enjoyed this. I gave it 3.5 stars, but it's not my favorite, so I don't feel the need to keep it on my shelves. Then we have this really pretty paperback of Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was one of my favorite reads of 2019. Highly recommend this. I got this off of Book Depository if you're curious. I just love the colors and the cover. It just fits the story so well. Then we have 2 books that I got from Owl Crate that again are perfect for this time of year because they are definitely Halloween themed books. We have The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I think this was an exclusive edition for Owl Crate. And then we have The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones, which was definitely an exclusive edition because the regular edition is black instead of white. And I think that this book has to do with gravediggers and zombies. I'm not really sure. But yeah, I wanted to include a couple of books that would be perfect for spooky season. Then we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is the Book of the Month edition. Now, this book I tried reading a few months ago. I only got to page 60 before I DNF'd it. Unfortunately, it didn't work for me. However, I have heard really great things about this book from so many people. It's essentially a dark academia adult fantasy series. This is book 1 of a series. And last but certainly not least, we have Beach Read by Emily Henry. This was a very hyped romance for this year. I think it came out back in May. This is also the Book of the Month edition. I personally gave it 3.5 stars. I didn't love it as much as other people did, but I know a lot of people who gave this 5 stars. It is essentially an adult romance, but it's also kind of women's fiction, and it has to do with with two authors. One of them writes literary fiction, one of them writes women's fiction, and the two of them end up swapping genres to kind of get themselves out of their writing blocks. Yes, like I said, if you win this giveaway, you will be able to pick 2 books out of this stack and I will mail them to you. I think the easiest way to do this is that I'm gonna end up messaging the winner here on YouTube, so just be aware of that. And with that being said, it's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!